Hello everyone, I'm Liu Xuling from Yunnan Normal University. Welcome to the course, The Tourism Culture in Yunnan. This series is mainly about three famous views in Tanchong City: Heshun Old Town, the Hot Sea Scenic Area, and the volcanic landscapes. First, I will introduce a flowing place, Heshun Old Town. Distinct from those towns in Yunnan, which are rich in minority ethnic cultures, this town is primarily inhabited by Han people. Some may have heard of it or have even visited. It is incredible to think about the kind of expression this small town can leave on you. Aside from the beautiful natural scenery, there are lots of memorial archways, platforms, lotus ponds, pavilions, screen walls, and stone pavilions that can be found everywhere. In this place, international products were also used on a large scale. However, bicycles and televisions and radios, rarely seen in mainland China, were in daily use by these people before 1949. It was a richest place full of successful businessmen in Yunnan. So, the area even got the name Miniature Shanghai. Why and how did this small town become such an internationalized place? Today, we will take a journey into Heshun, 4 kilometers away from downtown Tanchong City, which is a 4A national tourist attraction, as well as the first of many charming towns in China. Heshun has a splendid history and culture, which we will consider in three aspects: the flow of people, the flow of commodities, and the flow of wealth. The first one is what I want to call the flow of people. The indigenous people of Heshun were Wa people. During the Ming Dynasty, the central government commanded its military army to bring the southwest of Yunnan under its control. According to military regulations, members of army were required to live off the resources of the western frontier. Some generals and soldiers who came from Sichuan or other provinces in North China were ordered to stay in Tanchong. Two generals, Cun and Liu, were the first who came to Heshun. They found a favorable climate and natural surroundings suitable for living, and so decided to live there. The other generals with their families and soldiers gradually moved there as well and drove the indigenous people out of their homeland. With this population growth, 8 large families formed with their surnames of Cun, Liu, Li, Yin, Jia, Zhang, Yang, Cuan. Their 8 ancestral temples now can be found here. The ancestral temple in China is seen by many as a holy and religious place where people honor the memory of their ancestors and hold grand rituals every year. Therefore, it is a symbol of the power, spirit, and wealth of a big family. Although the 8 ancestral temples are different in size, style, and design, they are made up of the same traditional elements: platform, archway, railways, the menhuo, wind houses, and gardens. They are truly remarkable pieces of architecture and famous sightseeing addition to the landscapes of Heshun. Heshun is a community of migrants from Han society. With its geographical advantages, Tanchong was a strategic point on the old Southern Silk Route and a distribution center for Chinese land trade to South and Southeast Asian countries. At the end of the 18th century and the beginning of the 19th century, foreign trade reached its peak in Tanchong. There are 6 ancient routes from Tanchong to Myanmar, among which is a significant route through Heshun. For the Ming Dynasty, A growing number of Heshun people traveled to Myanmar for business. Heshun even developed a tradition that once a male reached at the age of 16, he would be obliged to go to Myanmar to make his fortune. If he did not, he would be looked down on in Heshun. In the early 20th century, more local people went to Taiwan, Hong Kong, Japan, Southeast Asia, Europe, America, and Canada. And now, Heshun people have dispersed to more than 10 countries, making it famous as the hometown of many overseas Chinese. Moving from the flow of people, we now look to the flow of commodities. Such imported commodities from Myanmar as jade, cotton, and international products were distributed from Tengchong to other places in China, while local specialties from Yunnan were exported to Myanmar. People around the world regarded Tengchong as an international market, which linked China with Southwest Asia. Jade was one of the most essential of these commodities, since Myanmar is the source of jade for the world, and Tengchong was likewise the only source of Myanmar jade for China. Due to Tengchong's legendary reputation in the jade trade, nowadays jade shops fill every corner of the town. Some local people achieved great success in the jade business before 1949 and established transnational companies which enjoyed great fame at home and abroad. Zhang Baoting and Cun Rudong were two famous Tengchong merchants in the jade trade, becoming known among the locals as the king of jade. The flow of commodities directly results in the flow of wealth. When people became rich in Myanmar, they brought the wealth back to Heshun and began to build their houses. The buildings built at that time were quadrangle dwellings, or 3 houses with 1 screen. The richer its owner was, the bigger or grand the residential house would be. The houses were clearly a symbol of prosperity and wealth. An excellent example is a residential house named Wang Louzi, the house of a family who owned Yongmao He, one of the largest transnational companies. The house consists of 3 courtyards in both Chinese and Western style. For its remarkable features in size, style, and the reputations of the owners, it is open for public as a museum of residential house. The exchanges of politics, economy, and culture with the outside world brought new ideas which had significant influence on education. During that period, some schools with Western subjects were established in this small town. The locals got the chance to be exposed to new thoughts and culture. Some people were sent to abroad to receive better education. That's why Heshun is also famous for some outstanding scholars and figures, such as Li Yuegai, a senior statesman of the 1911 revolution, his son Ai Siqi, a well-known Marxist philosopher, and Cun Shusheng, a famous educator in Yunnan. The Ai Siqi residential house is open as a tourist attraction in memory of this significant figure. In addition to this larger traditional residential house, we found the Heshun Library, a landmark building in the town, noted for being the earliest and largest rural library in China. At the beginning of the 20th century, the young local intellectuals organized a reading club, aiming to spread new ideas and culture. They bought new books from outside and shared new thoughts. In 1924, Chongqinghui, another league organized by the overseas Chinese in Myanmar, brought more books to the reading club. In 1928, with the efforts of those overseas Chinese, along with the resident Heshun people, the reading club expanded into a library. 10 years later, a new building 2 stories high was built, becoming the main library building. The upstairs is a stack room, while downstairs is a reading room. Currently, there are nearly 80,000 books, and some are rare editions of ancient works. The library, the proud of Heshun people, is now also a state-protected relic site. Now, are you still surprised that there is such an internationalized and vibrant place on the border of southwest China? It should be clear now how this come to be. Thank you all so much for taking the time to listen. Have a good day. 这节课中涉及的相关词汇，同学们请看这里。